Hi, Dr. Steve Wilke here. Thank you for watching. I want to talk to you today about communication. I want to call it from corporate chatter to communication that truly matters. What can I tell you that hasn't already been said? You'd think we'd be great communicators with the workshops, the seminars, the undergraduate degrees, the PhDs, the directors of communications in our corporations. We have plenty of information to make us good communicators, and yet I communicate for a living. You communicate personally, professionally. It's a struggle. I got 3 or 4 helpful hints, but first a couple of my favorite stats. One, London University did a study that indicated that communication overload, texts, emails, all the communicating we do at home and at work, trying to balance everything, can actually decrease our IQ by 10 points. For those psychologists in the audience, that standard deviation on the IQ chart is about 15. 10 points is a lot. And more interestingly, for men, it was more of an impact than for women. Also, 1,000 U.S. workers were surveyed, and they reported at a rate of 42% that they had been abused, sometimes criminally, in the workplace. And in that same study, about 30% said they were in fact the abusers. Communication continues to be a problem. So here's a couple of helpful hints. One, I try to always attempt to be clear. Clarity is number one. Clarity occurs when assumptions and ambiguity are minimized. I don't think it's possible to ever get rid of all assumptions and ambiguity because A, communicating from me to you is difficult, and B, there are barriers where distortion happens between me and you, or me and my audience, you and your audience, and therefore assumptions and ambiguity will always be present. The best communicators minimize those. So clarity is number one. Number two, body language. Tanya Ryman's written some literature that's popular now. There's a show called Lie to Me that's popular, where a psychologist scientist tries to find out if people are telling the truth and makes determinations on their veracity based on their facial expressions. Kind of interesting, but body language is important. If I look at you like this, or I roll my eyes, or I give you one of these, or I give you, I'm going to kick back, that all means something non-verbally. Body language is important. Next, we need to pay attention to listening. Listening, according to researchers, can impact effective leadership at a rate of about 40%. About 40% of being an effective leader is learning to listen well. Somebody told me once that I have 2 ears and a mouth for a reason, that I need to listen twice as much as I speak. For me, that's interesting because I speak for a living, but I understand the wisdom there. So after you learn to be clear and you reduce assumptions and ambiguity, then there's body language, then there's the effective listening part, finally, talking. The delivery is what I'd focus on there. Sometimes we say the right things, but the way we deliver to our spouse, to our children, to our peers, to our boss, just doesn't work. So how you deliver your message is important. We would recommend that you pay attention to that. A lot of people will say crazy things and inane things, but they're great salespeople. Sometimes they're in the clergy or they're politicians, and their delivery is so good we buy it. And then I've heard people say remarkable things, but their delivery is so poor, they either put you to sleep or they're offensive. So your defenses are up. Clarity, body language, listening, and talking part. Those are the keys to communicating. We want to remind you that we've got a book out called The Leading Edge. I'd like to encourage you to get a copy. You've got, I think, right here the web page. And until next time, we encourage you to lead on.